cutting our heads off or no?
Like this?
Yeah, perfect. If you could just rest your head on you.
Yeah, like that.
Oh, so cute.
It is recording? Oh man, you have good eyes. Give me your eyes. How'd you see that?
Oh, I was like, how can you see my eyes from that?
So, how was your weekend? Hello everybody. We're here with another Mormon Enlightenment interview. This is Mike Johnson, and he and his wife Lindy have become great friends of ours. Amazing, amazing people, and so thanks for being with us, man.
Thanks for having us.
It's good to have you. It's been fun to get to know you, but also what happens with the whole post-Mormon thing, you probably noticed this. I know you guys, you know, and we have this friendship and this kinship, but I don't know your whole story. Yeah. And so that's what's so cool about these videos, is you can get to know people on that level, which is so important. All the way, by the way, I just wanted to thank you and your wife, because I know Lindy's been devoting a tremendous amount of time and energy to the post-Mormon community overall. And she has given a lot. And I know that that requires support on your part too. So thank you guys for that. It's amazing.
It's all Lindy.
So tell me a little bit about you guys. Like, well, first of all, let's just talk about you. Like, where'd you grow up?
So I grew up here in Orem and Linden.
The Heart, okay.
Yeah, the Heart. Very Orthodox family, big family, so 6 kids. When I was 13, my aunt and uncle were killed in a car accident, and their 5 kids, so my 5 cousins, now didn't have parents.
Oh wow!
And so my parents took in my 5 cousins. So
now 11 children.
11, yeah.
Wow.
So I was 13. The oldest was 14. The youngest was like 14 or 15 months old, something like that. So 11 kids.
Major kudos to your mom and dad. That's amazing.
My parents are saints. But grew up pretty strict. No TV on Sundays. No caffeine. Can't watch Ariel. You're not wearing enough clothes. Can't watch Jasmine. Not wearing enough clothes. No face cards, you know. So, which was great. Which was fine.
It's all you knew.
Yeah, that's what I knew. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, that's honestly what I prefer. If you're going to live something or do something, then do it. Which is what my parents did. So I actually thought it was really, you know, looking back on it, it's really cool the way that they do it. I'm not saying other people doing it the other way is bad, but I think it's cooler. If you're going to do it, then do it.
Right.
I struggled. I didn't struggle in church. Church was great. Never had any doubts. But I did struggle right before my mission.
So just go back real quick to those adolescent years. What I'm seeing a lot of is that kids that live that ultra-Orthodox lifestyle often rebel.
Yep. And
they often get into things. And it's that whole concept of suppression leads to an obsession, and the outlet is, and I saw it with my friends, and I'm seeing it with even teenagers now. I lived kind of the opposite of you. My family wasn't real Orthodox until I got a little bit older in the teens, and then we kind of became more Orthodox at that point. But did you notice any of that with yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I was actually a pretty good kid. No drugs, no alcohol. Girls was a struggle. Looking at, you know, porn and stuff. That was the struggle.
Sure.
Me. And so when I was, and that probably started, you know, 14 years old.
It's just so everybody knows, that's pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
So I can see it in your eyes, because that's very brave to say that in the Mormon realm.
Yeah.
To admit that, but by and large, that's normal. Like, that is perfectly normal. And if anybody outside of the Mormon church heard you or me say that, they'd be like, well, of course you did. It's just that. Yeah, but it does. I mean,
but you can't say that in the Mormon. I mean, you go say that to the bishop, and you feel terrible about it. You feel ashamed about it, and whatnot.
Did you go through that?
Oh yeah, I had lots of interviews with bishops and whatnot, because I was trying to be worthy. I was trying to do good. And when it came time to go on a mission, I wanted to go. Had every desire to go, but I could never get there. And I got really close, screwed up, lied to my bishop, lied to the stake president.
Gosh, we have a lot in common.
And the day before state conference, because that's when they call elders, I called my bishop and I was like, hey, you guys can't call me. I need to talk to you. So I talked with him and then was still working on it. In the meantime, met Lindy. Anyway, by the time I got to the point where I could go on a mission, we got married in the temple instead.
Yeah.
So, never went on a mission, but not because I didn't want to, not because I didn't believe, not because I was even really rebelling that bad. I just had a problem.
You could call it a problem.
Yeah.
But, and this, I'm not a professional, but this is just my experience. And, I'm born and raised around this environment too. And in my experience, people that are honest within the church environment are punished. I know that I ultimately went on my mission unworthily, and I'm very upfront about that. But the pressure was out of control to get out there. The pressure was, and I knew that if I had already waited a year, and I slipped up one more time, just once, and I knew that if I went about it the right way, I would never go. And so you actually did the honorable thing. And my question for you is: did you ever feel like out of odds or out of sorts, or
oh yeah,
did you ever feel like you were less than?
Definitely. And this was like I was getting ready to go on my mission right after the whole raise the bar thing. So
I remember the raise the bar thing.
So, I mean, maybe a few years before that, the bishop would have said, "I'm sending you. I don't really care." But at this point, it was like, no, raise the bar. You're not ready to go. You're not going.
Right.
But yeah, I used to. My whole family is super musical. One of the outlets that I used was recording music. So I'm not good at guitars. I can't play it very well, but I would play a line, record some vocals, record some backup vocals, put in a drum loop, put in some backup guitar stuff, and one of the songs, is one of the lines is 2 years behind the finish line, which is talking about not going on a mission. So
totally, I bet in this environment, predominantly Mormon climate, I bet it. I mean, if I were you, it would have drove me nuts. Because I finally realized it's not appropriate to just ask anybody and everybody that you just first meet for the first time, where'd you serve your mission? And to make that assumption.
And a lot of people do that.
I did it. Did you get that a lot?
Yeah. I felt the most awkward, at 19 and 20, when people ask, how old are you? I'm 20, and you just get the look, like, oh, you're supposed to be on a mission. And it's probably... There's actually, I'm sure, a lot of people that aren't giving you the look, but you just feel like you're getting the look. I'm sure it's both ways, but I definitely always felt like I was getting the look.
Right.
Probably wasn't always getting it, but you always felt like it. So. Yeah,
and it's awkward because I've asked people that, Mike. I've said, hey, where'd you serve your mission? And, oh, I didn't serve a mission. And then I feel awkward too. So not only have I done it to them, I've done it to myself, and I don't, where do we go from there? You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's okay. That's okay. You know what I mean? So
it's not one of the
the commandment we know the commandment was every worthy male. Truth be known, if people were being honest, Mike, how many people would be worthy? How many people could go? It's like I say, like, how many people are hiding stuff? Just saying, the honest,
Yeah.
you're an honest guy. I really respect that about you. So after you guys get married, you're living the Mormon life.
Living the Mormon life. I got to a certain point, let's see, I was probably 29. I got married at 23. At 29, I was never like the guy that was always in the Book of Mormon studying, but I was happy to go. I was happy to have a calling. I was also happy to not go if an opportunity presented itself. Like, so I was not my parents. You know, I said, if you're going to do it, then do it. And I wasn't that guy.
Right.
But it just got to a point where I just didn't want to go. I was working a lot of hours, and it had nothing to do with me not believing. I just needed a break from...
Okay, so you were saying that you weren't so much like your parents in that, you know, you...
So I
got a new calling.
Yeah, I got a calling to be in the deacons, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And
like an advisor.
Yeah, I was an advisor.
That's a great calling.
Great calling. It was fun. Went on campouts. Loved that part. There was a lot of youth in that ward. So there was like 2 advisors, and then the guy in the bishopric, and then another guy.
Yeah.
So we had like 4 people, and I pretty much never taught. And anytime we would go to like baptisms, I would make sure I had an excuse not to go, because I really wasn't worthy to, you know, I wasn't 100% worthy. And so I didn't do things, you know, I didn't do things if I wasn't worthy. I didn't lie, but I did like helping the youth. And there was this one I had to teach. There was like no way around it. I kept dodging it. And
your turn to teach.
My turn to teach in deacons. So I teach, and I felt like such a hypocrite. Like,
yeah.
it was not a good feeling for me. And so that was tough, because I'm here shaping other 12-year-olds, telling them things that I'm still not 100% sure on, nor am I necessarily doing. So at that point, I kind of backed off from church altogether. Told them, you know, I didn't want to do the calling anymore. And
was this around the same time as Lindy's faith crisis, or was it before?
Yes. So her faith crisis is a little bit before this.
Okay.
The way I remember her talking to me in the car, something about, hey, did you know there's multiple accounts of the first vision? Something like that. And I was not interested in exploring that. I don't think I even really responded to her. It was, there is another time where we'll get to it, but she brought it up. I had no interest in talking about that. Didn't really care. So we both had kind of taken a hiatus. When I turned 30, we went on a birthday cruise. Oh, actually, we need to back up a little bit. So,
how old are you now? Just curious.
I'm 32.
Okay.
So I've got 5 brothers, 5 sisters, right? So 11 kids. During this time, well, I'm 29, I'm pretty sure. My oldest cousin, we call each other brother and sister, but she sends an email. She went on a mission. She went to BYU, super smart. Not the type of person that ever was into drugs or drinking or would want to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
Is not vulgar at all. And she sends an email that says that she's basically leaving the church. She wasn't quite there yet, and I was like, whoa.
She just sent this email to everybody?
To my whole family. Yeah, just immediate family. And
all right. So your oldest sister, she decides that she's going to leave the church, sends out an email to everybody.
Correct.
And
so she sends out the email, and at this point, me and Lindy, for the past 3 months, had a rift in our relationship, because I'm not wanting to go to church just because I don't want to. And she's saying, hey, we got to go. We made covenants.
Were you just not feeling it?
I just wasn't feeling it.
It wasn't because of anything doctrinal.
No doctrine.
You had kind of checked out mentally. And my thing is, like, don't you think if we went to church and we felt spiritually fed and uplifted and like, Crystal and I talk about this all the time, don't you think we'd want to go? Mm-hmm. But for me, when there was a no church day, I was like the happiest guy in the world.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That was you.
Yeah. So she sends this email, and I was like, man, if Elise can leave, I can. I didn't feel bad about not going to church at that point.
Yeah.
And so that was like a year later. I go on my 30th birthday cruise, which is just me and Lindy, and then two other couples, two of which never Mormons.
Drink. Thank you.
Two of which were never Mormon. The other two grew up Mormon and had already left. They actually didn't talk about any of the issues with us, which is actually pretty cool. Lindy was down the rabbit hole at this point. I had no clue. And
she's doing all this research on her own.
Yeah, and I'm just on a hiatus. And so she's saying, hey, let's have a rum spring. Is that what it's called?
Okay.
And so I've never
drank.
I've never drank at this point. I'm 30, never drank, thank you.
You never drank?
No,
as I take a drink.
You never drank alcohol till you were
30.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, never did drugs, never drank. And so we go on this cruise. Oh, actually her brother was there too. He was kind of the seventh wheel. And he was awesome because he's very TBM. He was a good sport because he kind of found out while we were there that, hey, everyone's going to be drinking, just FYI, including us.
Including him?
No, including me and Lindy had to have, actually I made Lindy have the conversation. I was like, it's your brother. You need to let him know that.
Okay, inform him that we're participating.
So it's not just like he's getting sideswiped. So anyway, so then it's time we have a kid, and it's time to bless. Yeah, so this is our third child. Final. Yeah, and it's time to bless the kid. I'm not worthy. Again, right?
Right.
But I still completely believe.
Yeah.
She's down the rabbit hole. She says she didn't want to bless him. That's not she was the one pushing, making sure, she wanted me to bless him.
Of course she did. That's, yeah.
Mostly because of the social pressure.
Not just, well, okay, yeah. Okay.
The social pressure of, hey, she didn't want someone else to bless him.
Right.
She wanted it to be me. And I was like, I don't want to bless him. Like,
that could have been for sentimental value too.
Mm-hmm. I haven't even, it's not like I was doing crazy things. I was drinking here and there and wasn't going to church. Even if I hadn't been going to church for a year, like, I wouldn't feel comfortable blessing him. I'm not even going to church.
Yeah.
There should be something coming down for me to give the blessing. And so
there's not, just so you know, even if you're living worthily, like, nothing comes. Like, I've tried. It's like, give me something, and then I just have to make it up.
I think I might disagree a little bit.
Okay, let's hear that.
Just for the sake of people that are spiritual, that meditate, that are just, I think they can feel things that other can't.
I can get. Crystal can get with that for sure. Yeah.
I don't think that has anything to do with. Anyway,
with revelation.
It's not revelation, all that stuff, but I think they can feel things.
Okay.
Anyway, but what were we talking about?
You were just going to say, Lindy wanted you to bless the baby.
And she went as far as to ask the bishop if he thought it was okay. Bishop is like gunning for me to give the blessing, and I was like, I don't want to. Yeah. And so I called my dad, and I was like, hey, blessings tomorrow. I'm not worthy. Bishop says it's okay. What are your thoughts?
Right.
And his advice, which I thought was awesome, he was like, well, if you're going down the repentance process, if you think you're moving closer, I would give it. If you're not, then probably don't. And so I asked him to do it. And so then my mom corners me a couple months later, because obviously I didn't give the blessing, and wants to talk about it. And she's asking, you know, I just told her, look, I'm on a hiatus, I'm just taking a step back. And she's like, it's nothing doctrinal? And I was like, because she's had the conversations with my sister. And so, like, for me, I wasn't even close, I wasn't there at all. So for me, it was like, why is she being so weird about, like, the doctrine and stuff like that? Because I hadn't even looked into any of that kind of stuff. So, but then sadly enough,
she had been made aware there were some doctrinal issues, and so she was kind of prying, like, what is it? Okay.
Well, she just assumed that I was probably there, but I wasn't. The sad part is, you know, 4 or 5 or 6 months later, whenever we sent our email out, the next communication we sent out an email, was that we had left. So, and I'd never had a conversation with her in between then. So she probably was like, he lied to me, but I didn't. But anyway, so then in September, so Jet would have been 4 months old because he was born in May. So in September, it's actually a little bit, no, September's right. So this is where Lindy's really going down the rabbit hole. She had explored a few things here or there. So like her faith crisis over 2 years was like she didn't really go down the rabbit hole until about then.
Okay.
So every day I get home, she's got her AirPods in, she's reading something, she's devouring information. And then one of the days she comes up to me and she's like, hey, so, you know, have you heard about this multiple accounts of the first vision? I was like, look, man, I don't want to hear any anti-Mormon stuff. Like, don't talk to me about
then,
that.
okay.
Yeah, I'm drinking.
I know.
I'm not going to church.
I know.
And I'm like, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to hear it. And she's very persistent. And she's like, no, babe, this is on the church's website.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care. I don't want to talk about it. And she's getting mad at this point. And she's like, babe, it's on whatever it is .org. They've changed it.
LDS.org or whatever.
And I was like, babe, we're done. I don't want to talk about it. And I just walked off. Like, I didn't want to talk about it. I'm a little bit stubborn too. And so then like I said, every day was like devouring it. And so by this point, you know, I knew that, she's obviously looking at anti-Mormon stuff. And so I was like, babe, we weren't even the ones that were like devouring the scriptures. It's not fair to devour all of this when you didn't even do that with the Book of Mormon and the other stuff. Like, you have to look at both sides. And I didn't do that stuff. I'm telling her to do stuff that I didn't do.
I know.
So, but it just seemed only fair.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get one side of the story.
When Crystal told me the same, that she was devouring this information, my knee-jerk reaction was, I'm going to correct her.
Yeah.
But what I really wanted to do was be like, yes, good for you, but it's crazy how that auto, it fires off.
And so, so one of the days she comes home I come home and she doesn't have, I'm not there, so she doesn't have her headphones in. It's on a laptop. I can't remember where it's being played, but it's that Hans Madsen interview.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting. I was overhearing, and it seemed pretty interesting. And that's when I realized that John was very neutral. He did not come across as this anti-Mormon guy. Yeah. And so that's when I became willing and open to like listening to any of this kind of stuff. And so that's when I started doing a little bit of research. And so we had more open, me and Lindy, that is, had more open conversations about some things. I was more willing to listen. I knew about the CES letter, but still wouldn't read it.
Yeah.
I had sided with most of the things that she was saying by this point, but still wouldn't read it.
Right.
By the time I read it, by the time I got around to reading it and then looking into all the other, you know, documents and whatnot, it was pretty quick for me. You know, 3 weeks.
It all unwound.
It all unwound super fast for me. But I do have to go back to, so the workshop, which was in February. So
of 18?
this year.
This year. Okay.
This year. Yeah, February of this year. I find out that Lindy does a lot of things without me knowing about it. She just kind of does things.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's a doer.
That's a good for her.
So
I like that.
by the time that I find out there's this workshop, everything's already in place. Like the ball is moving.
Yeah.
John Dillon's coming. And then I find out she's the one that organized everything. And so I'm like, wait, you're going, like you're putting on this anti-Mormon workshop? Like what is happening? And I'm aware of a lot of the issues at this point, but I still feel like it's this anti-Mormon workshop. I had to work, ouch, I had to work through most of it, but I caught the last hour of it. And it was super good. Was
it at your house?
No, it was at some
retreat,
VRBO kind of house place. There was like 20 people there.
Yeah.
And it was super good. It was
good. You caught an hour, and it was really good.
It was just a bunch of normal people that were. I was probably one of the younger ones. Most of them were, you know.
It's
okay. So I was one of the younger ones.
Yeah.
Most people were 30 to 50 years old. And they all had really, they were all in very similar places to where we were.
Yeah.
Nothing was anti-Mormon. It was just really good.
Yeah.
It's not like they were bringing up all the issues. It was more of a therapeutic kind of a thing. So, so at that point, after that workshop, I was finally to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done. I definitely don't believe, and I'm to the point where I could reach out to family and let them know that, you know, we're out. And so we, like 2 days later, we sent out an email that said that we had left, and that was tough. That was tough.
So when I met you, I think it was like Halloween of 2018. I think I met you then.
I doubt it.
Oh, at Brooke Miller's.
No, we weren't there.
Oh.
We weren't there.
Gosh, this is really fresh.
I met Brooke at that Faith Crisis workshop.
Wow, in February. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm confusing maybe with Tiana.
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay, this is really fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really fresh.
It's funny because
we're talking maybe 8, 9 months, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, it's fresh, but the first, I don't know how long, the first 3 months is tough because what is the afterlife? What is this? What is that? Like, you don't have a structure anymore. There's not an answer for everything anymore. There was an answer before, there's not anymore.
Yeah.
So that part is tough.
How to make you feel?
Very uneasy. And I did similar things when I'm putting Jet to bed. You know, I want to sing a primary song. That's, you know what, so that's tough to. And there's still the bird song. I still sing that one. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna let that one go.
Yeah,
that's what my mom sang to me when I went to bed. So, but yeah, it was tough to, you know, hope they call me on a mission. Like, you can't sing those things. You don't believe that anymore. You don't want to indoctrinate your kids with that. So
it's scary.
Yeah. So yeah, it's scary, but
we just, for what it's worth, like, Christmas last year was crazy confusing and hard for us. Already I can tell it's going to be great this year. You know?
Yeah.
It's just time.
Yeah. So, but you get to a point where it feels great. Like, it's fresh, but it doesn't feel fresh. Like, I feel totally, I don't think about it anymore. I was devouring Mormon Stories podcasts and all those things for the first several months. Watched your podcast, watched all the things. Now I rarely get on those things anymore.
Yeah.
Not that I think that's bad. I think that, I think that's great. But I don't feel the need. Before I had to. And maybe it's because you're just you need to make sure that you're not crazy,
yeah. I know.
Did I leave and is it actually true? And then something happens and you're like, oh no, never mind. Then they reverse the policy after 3 years and God says whoops and you're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm okay. This is the right thing.
Right.
So, but yeah.
How has it been in terms of your relationship with your wife, your relationship with your family, your kids? How's your life right now?
It's way better. Way better. This isn't going to be how everyone feels as a Mormon, but this is a little bit how I felt. You had all of eternity to do stuff, so now you've got to... I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen next, so you got to make this life count. You got to do things with your kids. You got to spend your second Saturday and do things with them and whatnot. So, and we can go back to the porn stuff. Now that she doesn't really care, that's not like this big shameful thing. It's not like this thing that I feel like I have to do.
Yeah. It's
like a non-factor.
Right.
It's the weirdest thing.
Now
that it's okay, it doesn't I don't want to.
I couldn't agree more.
And I'm
grateful someone else is willing to talk about it because I know that there's men in and out of the church that need to hear that. And it's the truth. I felt it myself. So thanks for being brave about that.
Yeah.
You are an honest person. I dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously.
So, and that was the silly things with a lot of the church. Like the biggest things that unwound for me, because there's a lot of really big ones, Book of Abraham, there's some really big ones.
Yeah.
But the biggest ones for me that unwound everything were the small things. Like multiple accounts of the first vision. Why are they telling it one way when it was several, different ways? Why are there pictures in the church that show Joseph Smith with this curtain next to plates when that's not how they did it?
And they've acknowledged that.
He stuck his head in a hat. They've acknowledged it now, but why? If they had have just taught that from the beginning, no one would have said, oh, he stuck his head in a hat for Revelation, that's the weirdest thing, and not believed. They made up this different rhetoric.
Right.
When they didn't need to.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to lie about stupid things, you're certainly going to lie about
just
big things.
Just make it a little more shiny.
If you can lie about the dumb things, you're going to lie about the big things. So it's just, for those, that unwound more than anything the big things, just because there's a lot of the things there was no need for.
Yeah.
So.
How's it been in your neighborhood, ward?
So we moved a couple months ago, got a promotion at work.
Yeah.
So moved up to South Jordan.
Blessings of not paying taxes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it's great.
Yeah.
Honestly, our neighborhood in Spanish Fork was awesome. The members there are awesome. I still love all the people that go.
Yeah.
A lot of people get angry, and that's okay. That's that's perfectly valid for them to feel like that. I fortunately I just left. I didn't get mad. I still love all the people that want to go. That's great.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But neighbors at the new place are great. Well, actually, we do need to go back to Spanish Fork. The neighbors are great.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things about leaving, though, is the kids.
Oh.
Because I remember being outside. I was a huge skateboarder back in the day, snowboarder. Anything you could hurt yourself doing, I was trying to do.
Sure.
Lots of injuries growing up. Now I just do it for fun. Not good anymore, but I think I was outside skateboarding, just dinking around.
Right.
and there's 15, 20 kids that are Brinley's age outside at a birthday party that she's friends with, most of them, and she's not invited to the party, and it's because we're not going to church, right? It has nothing to do with that the kid didn't like Brinley. It's the parents don't send out the invite because those guys don't go to church. We can't associate with the guys that don't go to church.
Right.
That was super tough. That was very hard to see, because I honestly was going to have, you know, kids come out and hang out with me and run around outside, and I'm not about to let her see all the kids playing there, and I'm not going to invite ourselves either. So that was tough. Other than that aspect of kids that are not members, you know, not getting treated equally. Other than that, everything.
It's part of the reason we're doing what we're doing,
yeah.
Right? It's for our kids, just so that crap doesn't happen, because it does happen. You're right, that happens. It's happened to us. I've heard all the horror stories, so it's part of the reason we're being open and honest and doing stuff like this, is because we want to make it safe. We want to make it safe for our kids. We want to normalize it. We're not bad people. We're honest.
Yeah.
You know, I just value integrity and honesty more than anything, even more than ever in my life. I really value that. So you've said some hard things. I really appreciate it. Anything else you want to say before you?
No, I think we got it.
Yeah, the marriage?
Yeah.
How's the marriage?
Marriage, well, no, I'm just kidding. No, marriage is great. Marriage is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, life is great right now.
Yeah, you
So,
guys
no
are good people, man.
So
Awesome people. Thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it, Mike.
thanks for having me.
All right, man. You're awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks.